I've got to admit that I do not cry much at movies. It's not that I want to be emotionally unavailable. It's just who I am. But there is one scene that always gets me. It's the final scene in It's a Wonderful Life. It's when George Bailey realizes that he's gotten his life back, he's gotten his wife back, he's gotten his family back, and he's just simply elated that he's him again. It doesn't matter that he's going to jail. It doesn't matter that he thinks his business is falling apart. He just realizes that his life is a blessing to him, and he's happy to have it back. But the part that gets me is when, as the people come through the front door and they're putting their money in the basket, he realizes that not only is his life a blessing, but that he's been a blessing to others. That movie is a very poignant and powerful thing for me. And I want to use it as a backdrop for what's happening at Gold Coast Christian Camp right now, because there are a lot of parallels. No, I haven't spent any time standing on a bridge wishing that I'd never been born. But just as money was needed to keep the Bailey Building and Loan alive, Gold Coast Christian Camp needs some money now to keep its doors open. But before I talk about how much and what it's going to be going for, I just want to talk a bit about the life here at Gold Coast Christian Camp, because even though George Bailey reached a point in time where he wasn't sure that his life needed to be saved, I'm quite sure that Gold Coast Christian Camp needs to be saved, because it is a wonderful camp. It's a wonderful ministry that's done a wonderful work in a lot of different lives.
Well, I led worship here for a lot of years, and I appreciate that all the kids from churches around here get to come together and just step away from their lives and just spend some time with God. And for me, it was a great opportunity to kind of figure out my calling and discover that doing worship and music was where God wanted me.
I've been coming to camp since I was a little kid. Camp has dramatically changed my life. When I first came to camp, I was really lost and I wasn't quite sure who I was and who Jesus was. Because of Gold Coast Christian Camp, I have decided to become a full-time missionary and use my life to dedicate to Christ.
Camp is kind of like a family. You come to this camp, there's complete strangers around, and all of a sudden you just have like this massive amount of friends and people you can hang out with, and the bond goes on for years and years.
And every year we have different missionaries come and speak to us and just teach us about places other than America, places like Myanmar and Haiti, and just we learn so much stuff that you don't get to hear a lot, and we get to support those people going there and the people that they're helping there. At Gold Coast, I decided to become a medical missionary and dedicate my life to God's work.
Well, here's the site of our problem. It's one of the lesser traveled areas here at camp because it's not one of the more pleasant places to be. We're approaching the septic drain field and, of course, our septic tank. What's happening is that basically the health department is forcing us to build a parallel septic system to the one that we already have. There's nothing wrong with the one that we have. They're just telling us it's far too small. There is some background that I think that you have to have. Back in the early 80s, two very important things happened. One, all of the plumbing, toilets and showers and whatnot, was moved from the central bathhouse as the camp was originally built, and they moved those into all of the different cabins. Those plans originally were turned down by the county, but the leadership at the time decided that they would go ahead and do those renovations anyway without permits. Coincidentally, perhaps not coincidentally, at the same time, the health department stopped coming out and giving inspections of the property for licensure. So now, some 28 years later, we fast forward to today, and the health department comes out and says, you've got to meet current codes. And this is where it can get a little tricky. The size of your septic depends on how many gallons a day you're using. How many gallons a day you're using is based on how many beds that you have. For us to keep all 152 beds, we would have to build a system that could handle 8,000 gallons a day. The only way to do that, I'll just say, without getting detailed, is to spend well over $500,000. We simply can't afford that. So we have to try and stay under 5,000 gallons a day so that we can have a septic that is governed by the county. The most beds that we can have and remain under 5,000 gallons a day is 89. But even to build for 89 beds to today's standards, we have to build a septic system that's 2 times as large as our current system. So it's really ironic. It's frustrating to us. It's county bureaucracy, but the bottom line is we have to build a septic twice the size of our current one to lose 64 beds and to go down to just 89 beds. The project has been drawn up, it's been out for bids, and it's going to cost us approximately $75,000 to do this project. We need to get started as soon as possible, like August 2nd, and it's already July. Because the health department has been very patient with us at this point, but the heat is going to get turned up a little bit. They have to see progress, and we have to get moving. And frankly, for our schedule, we need to do this in the first part of August.
Whether it's been, playing basketball with my friends or doing something challenging like the ropes course, it really brings strengthening and bonding to people from all over the community. And it's an amazing opportunity that I've come and I've been blessed with. So I ask of you to please help out in saving this camp, because it really means a lot to us as campers.
When Nuke first invited me to summer camp, I didn't know what to expect. When I first got here, I was blown away. I met many new people, new faces, new things, new adventures. At the end of high school camp, I was baptized, and it changed my life forever.
Just so you know, this camp had meant a lot to me personally, because this is where I grew as a Christian. This is where I retreat myself to get away from the social norm and just to get to know God. And now I'm back here becoming a dean for High School Week of Camp, which is incredible. I see lives change. I see teenagers coming to camp where they don't usually go to church, but after camp they all of a sudden start showing up to youth group, and some are baptized here at camp in the camp pool. And I know some of you guys can relate. So from your support, it's going to help this camp go on, but not just helping the camp itself, but you're helping changing lives around the community here in South Florida. So thanks again for your support.
I'm very proud of the fact that during my 13-year tenure as the camp director, only once before have I ever had to come back to the churches and ask for money. We've run over those years such an effective retreat and conference center business that this facility has pretty much paid its own way all this time. But this is different. Due to the current economic situation, our current debt load, and also the way the mortgage company is structured, we are not going to be able to borrow 100% of this project. So we want to ask you to please consider sending a gift today. I'm no special fundraising guru, but what I had thought about doing was challenging families who have sent their kids to Gold Coast Christian Camp, both this year and previous years, back 30 years. If you've had a child that's been blessed by this ministry, would you please consider making a gift of $100 per child? If you can't afford $100 per child, then make a gift $50 per child, $25 per child. If you are one of those children that's been blessed by this ministry, make a $100 gift in your own name. Whatever it is, it's going to help, and we need it. And this is where I'm hoping to have a George Bailey moment. Just as at the end of It's a Wonderful Life, when George had no idea how much of a blessing that he had been to others, people streamed through the door at his time of need and said, "Thank you for being there. Here's a way for me to say thank you." Because I know this is a wonderful camp. Consider that just a few weeks ago, we had our High School Week of Camp for 2009. 52 young people gathered here. It was a great week, and it really was. But at the end of the week, we had 6 young people make decisions to be baptized here at the camp, 2 young people who went back to their home church and were baptized, and 5 young people that dedicated their life to full-time Christian service ministry. That's incredible. When you stop and consider that over 25% of the kids at the camp made a significant decision, either to be baptized or to commit their life to full-time Christian service, that's wonderful. Those are incredible statistics. And it would be sinful to allow a ministry that has that kind of impact to be adversely affected in any way. This camp, we have no other choice but to raise the money and to make sure that this ministry continues summer after summer after summer. Thank you for logging on to the website and finding out what's happening at Gold Coast Christian Camp, and I thank God that enough of you, I know, will respond and meet this need.